Okay, so sorry that I'm homesick today, guys, but I still wanted to give you some information here. So hopefully it's a little more clear from the other day as far as what I want you guys to do. Okay, so if you would grab out your notes, I'm going to be talking about the SWOT analysis and the microenvironment, which are both found at the bottom of the first page. So we'll start with the SWOT analysis, right? It looks here. And go ahead and write in internal and external here on the left-hand side, and then plus and minus here over the tops of these two things. I know we've done a little bit of research as it relates to SWOT analysis a few units ago when you guys were giving your presentations and proposals for new products. I want you to just take that one step further and actually create a SWOT analysis for your company. Okay, so these are the strengths. These are the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, so as you can see, under the first box here, we've got things that we do well, right? So it's got the plus and it's internal. So it's stuff that we do well, okay? Okay, and so maybe that would be something like we advertise using well-known athletes, or we have a great research and development team that's good at innovation with products, or whatever the case might be. Okay, so SWOT, or strengths, stuff we do well. Weaknesses, just the opposite of that, things that we do poorly. Okay, and this has nothing to do with our competition at this point. This is just us objectively looking at the way we do business and say, hey, we're not very good at that thing. Maybe it's our shipping times are too long, or maybe we don't pay our employees as much as we could, or whatever the case might be. Okay. Opportunities are things we could do, right? And that could is the key, right? It has to be things that we aren't doing currently, but you think that there is a market for, okay? All right, so that's the key. Opportunities, there has to be things that there is a market for and that are doable, right? We were talking about several units ago about transporters, right? Those aren't opportunities because it's not something that we can do. Finally, threats are things that our competitors do better than we do. Okay, so that could be something like brand recognition. Company is more well known than we are, maybe in a specific subgroup of a category, right? Maybe ASICs are more well known in terms of running. Maybe Adidas is more well known as it relates to soccer, or have greater market share in the consumer's mind, or whatever the case might be. Okay, so in a nutshell, SWOT, strengths, stuff we do well. Weaknesses, we do poorly. Opportunities, don't do but could. And threats, our competitors do better than we do. Okay, so that's the SWOT in a nutshell. All right, that'll kind of move us into the micro environment here. And these are the things that, and if you want to write it on your notes, the micro environment, these are also things that are external, but we have some control over these things. We don't have total control. It's not like it's internal. It's not like we can decide who we hire and who we fire, but it's also not like it was up here in the macro where we don't have any control over it at all, like weather. Okay, so we do have a little bit of a say in terms of who our consumers are, right? Who our target market is. Okay, and we can control that based on the kinds of products that we make, but also the way that we advertise. If we're the Chicago Cubs and we want to make it, okay, let's say we had like military appreciation night. That's going to change the target market as far as who's more likely to come to that game. Okay. Just like if we've got like if we're a restaurant and we've got some kind of like date night special where you get 2 entrees and an appetizer for a decreased price, we're probably going to get more couples at that point. If we have a restaurant special where it's kids eat free, we're going to get more families. Okay. Suppliers, that's where we get our stuff to make our products. Okay, and so we've got some control over those things. If we are a pizza place, let's say, we have control over who we get our cheese from, who we get our meats from, and we have to kind of weigh, do we want to pay a little bit more for maybe a little more higher quality, or maybe to be organic or gluten-free or something like that? Or do we want to have our prices be really low and we sell more of a convenience factor like a Little Caesars or something like that? Okay. And finally, our stakeholders. This is the question, where do we get our money from? Now, I want to make this very clear. Stakeholders are not consumers. These two things are not related. When I say where do we get our money from, I am meaning, and make sure you write this, not sales. Out of here. I'm talking in terms of not sales. So do we get our money from our CEOs? Do we get it from our investors? Do we get it from our taxpayers if we're, you know, a sports team or something like that? Basically, where do we get our money from that is not revenue from sales? Okay, and that should cover us for the notes. Now, for what I want you guys to do for your portfolios, okay, I want you to create something that looks similar to what we did the other day with our pest analysis. It'll look something like this. Instead, it will probably be a numbered or bulleted list that looks like this. And you'll give me the same thing, 6 total, 1 from each of these. So if you're doing a SWOT for Nike, you might say one of the biggest strengths of Nike is our market share as it relates to basketball. Okay, because we know that they have such a huge market share as it relates to basketball. They've got 96%, I think, market share as it relates to basketball. But maybe a weakness is, maybe a weakness would be niche runners. Okay, there's a lot of other smaller companies like ASICS or Brooks or New Balance that specialize in specific kind of runners, whether it's sprinters or marathoners or people that are logging high miles or whatever the case might be. And maybe they're more apt to go to one of those smaller, more specialized running shoe places. Okay, so you kind of get the idea there. I'm looking for 2 in each, or 2 in each, 6 total, 1 in each. Okay, so that's the deal with the SWOT analysis. And then I will post something for you guys on Classroom as it relates to the microenvironment. You're just going to answer a few questions about who our consumers are, who's our target market, our suppliers, where do we get our stuff from, do we grow it ourselves, do we pay somebody for our cotton or for our cheese or whatever it is that our business makes, and finally answering this last question as it relates to stakeholders. Where do we get our money from if it's not money driven from sales? Okay, so that's what I want you guys to do today on the board, where we've got all of the different things that need to be included in your portfolio. You should have now, at the end of the day, a pest, a SWOT, and a micro analysis. Okay, so you got 3 things all on that same document. Okay, if you guys have any questions, feel free to use my email. It's Matthew, MATTHEWC @unit5.org, and I can respond at that point, or you can use Google Classroom or just find some way to get a hold of me if there's something that's tripping you up. Okay. Good luck, guys. Thanks. Sorry to be gone again today, but little man's sick.